This segment is brought to you in part by the Canadian Historical Arms Society, owners of the Genesee Range, the premier recreational sport and training facility in Western Canada. See us online at historical-arms.com.
The Quiet Professional, a podcast about law enforcement, security, justice, and politics. We are digging deeper on the issues and going where the information takes us with access to experts and authorities. Welcome to The Quiet Professional. Welcome back, everybody. Nathan Rome is with you. Today, we are going to be talking about journalism from a perilous environment and everything from repression to dissension. For that, I have Luis Najera on here. Luis is an acclaimed journalist and crime analyst from Mexico who has lived in exile in Canada since 2008. Prior to a career in journalism, he worked 5 years with the Chihuahua State Police in Mexico. Luis was then a reporter for Grupo Reforma based in Ciudad Juarez. It was a notorious gateway to the lucrative North American drug market and widely deemed from 2008 to 2012 the most dangerous place on earth. He received a Master's of Global Affairs from the University of Toronto and a Master's of Disaster and Emergency Management from York University. Luis was designated in 2022 among the 10 most influential Hispanic-Canadians by Hispanic Business Alliance. And Luis is the co-author of Wolfpack, the millennial mobsters who brought chaos and the cartels to the Canadian underworld, and The Uncaged Voice, stories by writers in exile. So welcome, Luis.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for the invitation.
Excited to have you here. I know a few of the people that I work with and that I chat with have read your book, The Wolfpack, and I just finished it. Amazing story. We'll talk more about that after, but
Sure.
I'm excited to have you on here because obviously cartels are starting to come up in conversation in Canada, even though they've been here for a very long time. So
Yeah.
we'll get into all those points. Just to start, though, I'd like to talk about you and something I mentioned in your bio. So you come from Mexico, you're a journalist down there, now you're living up here in exile, but you didn't start out as a journalist, you started out in policing. And I am super interested to hear about what policing in Mexico is like, why anyone would get into it, and maybe it's just all stuff we hear in the media, it sensationalizes certain parts. But what got you into that career path to start, and what was it like getting into a police service in Mexico?
Okay. First, let me clarify something. My time working for the police was in the middle of my career as a journalist. So I began my career in journalism in 1989 when I was in my second semester of university of undergrad in journalism. So actually, it's funny because I've been somehow attracted to law enforcement since I was a kid. A fun story. After when I completed my undergrad studies in Monterrey, Mexico, is one of the most important cities in northern Mexico. Some said is is where the money is in Mexico. So I went there for university, and when I finished my undergrad studies, another student there, he played for the we call American football. Here, I think it's football.
Football, like NFL?
Yeah, like NFL, like CFL.
Okay.
For us, it's American football because football is soccer.
Yeah.
Well, semantics. Anyways, so he played for the school for the American football team, and I played for the basketball team. So after the after the studies and everything, one day he contacted me and says, "Have you heard about this new force that is becoming? The government is assembling a special force, and I think we may have a chance." Oh, really? Okay. So sorry. So we went to the state police in Monterrey, and they announced that they will create a task force, a special force. But one of the top requirements was to be an undergrad, to have undergrad studies, because usually in Mexico the requirement is basically you can go with the middle school or high school. Sometimes you don't even need high school, maybe.
Okay.
So they said, well, we want people with, uh, better studies, blah, blah. Okay, so we went there. So, we submit all the documents and everything. And I remember that the final filter was outside of the state police headquarters. The group was maybe were like 20 of us. And also another requirement they asked for, the minimum height was 180 centimeters.
Okay, so that's about 5'9".
5'9".
5'10".
I'm 6'2", I think. Yeah. So my friend was also like six something. So we fulfill all of the most important requirements. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, sure. So we went there, standing there, and then the guy in charge of the training came down, and he was a guy like super obese, like massively obese. And he started to talk about, the goals and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know, I felt like a disconnection between the guy and the plan.
Yeah.
And I look at my friend, and he looked at me and says, "It's for real?" Okay, yeah, sure, yeah. So at the end of the training, they double checked the documents and everything. And they said, okay, both of you are in, my friend and I. But they said, if you want to leave or you want to, withdraw your application or something, you have to do it now. And then my friend, I just look at us and says, yeah, I think we're going to withdraw.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I don't know. We didn't feel like something there. Maybe it was, I don't know. Anyways, so that part was more an anecdote. Okay, so I started my career in journalism, and in 1990, 1996, yeah, after in 1996, I left journalism for several reasons, and I started. I worked as an kind of a assistant for a member of parliament who was involved with it's called the National Defense Commission in parliament. So I get in touch with a lot of the generals, and it was fascinating for me to learn about because those were like the highest ranking officers in the army, within the army, the Mexican army. Extremely well educated, very interesting experience. So from there, my boss, because he was a partisan position, he was the party asked him to move into a different position, and since I wasn't a member of the party, he said, "You know what? Unfortunately, you can't come with me." So then I went to the state of Chihuahua. I went back to my home, and then I had a few months experience working for the health and sports ministry. But then that was when another person who I met before said, "You know what? Would you like to work with the state police as a spokesperson?" Oh, sure, yeah. That was for me was more exciting. So that's how I joined the force as a civilian, and I started to work as a civilian in communications. I think it was after a year or less than a year, probably. I was in Ciudad Juarez, based in Ciudad Juarez. There were some changes within the force, and the state, the Chihuahua, is Mexico's largest state. So it's well, I mean, it's nothing compared with the provinces in Canada, but it's large.
Mm-hmm.
So they divided the state in 4 regions. So it's north, west, central, and south. So so three. So the boss, the person in charge, the regional coordinator in the north was was where I was. He was promoted to be. He was the sub coordinator, and then he was promoted as a coordinator. And he was kind of a very. He had a lot of interest in technology and intelligence and things like that, but he didn't have kind of the knowledge. So he started to ask me things like, "Could you please check this?" "Oh yeah, sure." "Could you please elaborate this kind of a report for this?" And this is how I slowly started to get into kind of the intelligence analysis. But it's not. It's very different that compared with the Canadian environment.
Mm.
And from there, I started to kind of get into more with the real job of policing. At some point, I was engaged, or I was part of certain, how can I say, task forces,
Yeah.
special task forces. For instance, I was involved in, or I participate in task forces engaged in hostages and in kidnappings, drugs operations, murder investigations. I went to the mountains supposedly to document, for instance, when they have like a massive land of heroin seized by the government or marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
and they asked me to go and document things, but also I was kind of collecting certain information and processing that information.
Sounds like a mix of journalism and the intelligence or the analyst side.
Kind of that, or let's say that in the outside I was the spokesperson.
Yeah.
But in the inside I was kind of more of a intelligence-ish guy,
Okay.
And that's when then technology started to kind of evolve, and then I get into communications and computers and digital things. Then at some point I was, and then I guess as part of the policing day to day, for instance, also I have to say something. In Mexico, there's a division between what police can do and can't do. For instance, the municipal police, like the Edmonton police, is morely preventive. They only are like, it's more like proximity policing.
Okay.
And of course, but they don't investigate crimes. The state investigates like crimes, like murders.
So it's kind of
arsons,
separated on complexity, level of complex
well,
investigation.
it's more like complexity, but also it's on the kind of crimes. For instance,
Mhm.
again, the municipal police works is more prevention. Of course, they can act when something is happening at the moment. But let's say if there's a murder, the investigation of the murder is in charge of the state.
All right.
The federal police is in charge of federal crimes like drugs, human trafficking.
But more interstate or international stuff.
Ish, but also, for instance, can be, for instance, human trafficking. They and there's some high profile assassinations, for instance, or when certain types of guns are used, the federal police can attract, that's the legal term, attract the investigation.
Okay.
So in this context, I worked for the state, so I wasn't part of the investigative police.
I see.
Yeah, but again, sometimes we had like I was again I participated in for instance the seizure and and burning of, it was 2 hectares of marijuana. I was part of teams who seized 300 kilos of cocaine, the release of hostages, other stuff.
Well, even within your book, so when if anybody's read Wolfpack, they'll know this, but you talk about at the very beginning a lot of the people that were journalists that had died as they were trying to report on some of these things that were going on. Is this at the time that you were in policing, or is this once
No,
you're
no, no.
done policing? Okay, so it's after.
So I worked 5 years, and I finished or the end of my career within the. Other thing was I was a civilian, so I wasn't
Mhm.
allowed to carry weapons
Yeah.
because of my civilian position. At some point, there's a new state attorney general, and honestly, the state government changed, and there's a different party. I worked like 2 years more with this new party,
Mhm.
but then they have a new state attorney general, and the people who brought this person was criminals,
Yeah.
like criminals. Period. So fortunately for me, they asked me to leave, and I was extremely happy because there was like really nasty things happen
Okay.
in this period of time. Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to get into here, and I guess kind of extends from what you're getting to, is just talking about your journalism career. So when you move into that, and then some stuff happens. So some of it's detailed in your book, but I'm wondering if you could dive a little bit more into what it's like being a journalist in Mexico, how dangerous it truly is. You give a lot of different stats. You name some of the friends that you've lost.
Mhm.
Like it sounds insane. I don't know who would dare be a journalist in Mexico.
Yeah.
So, what was the experience like when you were going through that? And then what led to you leaving there? How'd you find out that, it's so dangerous that you have to leave?
Okay. Well, after I left the force, I went back to journalism. And I guess the when it's a little bit like the frog in the boiling water
Mm,
experiment. So you're there, but you don't really notice
yeah.
when things are happening. Uh, in my particular case, I think before joining the force, before joining the police, um, I I worked on as a crime reporter in Juarez, and that allowed me to get to know a lot of police officers. And at some point, actually, for one of the, I guess, breaking points in my career was at some point the newspaper asked me to kind of to write a special report on. They said you're gonna be kind of shadowing a couple of state police officers the whole night.
Okay.
You're gonna be traveling with them. You're gonna be, talking to them and that. And during that time, we were this unit react to a homicide,
Mm,
and actually they arrested the killer. It was a gang related crime. But one of the things that I learned is I learned how to communicate with police officers. And the other thing is when I joined the force, I think most of the police officers, because they knew me from my past as a crime reporter,
yeah.
they didn't kind of rejected me a lot. But then I guess and one of the bonding experiences or the bonding factors within the force is experiences, right? When you have a joint experience, is when you kind of create a bond. And for me, that's what happened. I started to be accepted
Mm,
by the force when they said, "Oh, this guy is like us. I mean, he's with us. He's riding with us. He's helping or doing things or whatever." So that allowed me to kind of cross the blue wall,
yeah.
get into the whole thing for good and for bad.
Yeah. And people like to show show their job, right? And like to show you what's actually truly going on out there. So it is good that you get that experience.
Oh yeah. And I had very, very, very good friends inside the force, close friends. Uh, Again, because I didn't have when I remember at the beginning I said because they see me, they didn't trust me because the journalist is here, blah blah blah. But then through conversations, again through experiences. Uh, for instance, one day we had a kidnapping. It was a jewelry. Well, more like two guys came tried to rob a jewelry store, and the police came. They got they took as a hostage the owner of the jewelry, and I was one of the first who arrived with the unit, and I was there. So at some point, they said, "You know what? We need to negotiate." They negotiate with the guys. Okay, they're gonna surrender. Blah blah blah. But then the criminal says, "We don't want anyone with guns around us."
Mm.
So I'm with other 7 officers, and all of them gave me their guns, loaded guns. I said, "Okay, you keep the guns." "Oh, yeah, sure." So I held the guns, but then that's and of course I have to learn right how to use a gun.
Yeah.
I need that training, right? But then they said, "You know what? We need you because we're gonna grab the guys to secure the criminals, but we want you to get inside and grab the hostage."
Oh, wow.
And you have to grab him and take him out and put it into a police car. Yeah, sure. Okay. So I did that. But I, experiences like that, I guess, show them that I was kind of okay. I mean, I want to help.
Yeah.
And also the other thing is I went through several like bad experiences with officers that I guess they they sh- they knew that I was also covering their backs
Hmm.
as they cover mine. And that create bonds and that allow me to get going really deep into the system for
Hmm.
good and for very, very nasty things, unfortunately. And this is how I started. Now, when I went back to journalism, uh, because of my experience in uh, working with the force and everything. Oh, and also before joining the force, I also was, I don't know if you ever heard about the femicides in Ciudad Juarez,
No.
the murder, the systematic murder of women in the 90s.
No.
Okay, well, in 1995, a serial killer started to uh, abduct, torture, abuse, and kill women.
Mm.
So I was the journalist in charge of those things.
Okay.
So I published all those things, and I did a lot of investigations and blah blah blah.
That must be hard writing about a lot of that stuff. Like, so you've seen a lot of death and destruction
Yeah,
just reporting in those areas.
yeah, and I've seen fellow officers killed.
Wow.
I've been in the morgue with the bodies of fellow officers people who I greet in the morning at the station, and then 5 hours later I'm in the morgue.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, so yeah, again, those I guess those experiences both in journalism and then within the force allow me to kind of
Do some of the deeper reporting.
yes,
Okay.
and because I learned the good, the bad, and the ugly and the worst of a lot of things. So when I went back to journalism, I went back or I started to work in Reforma in 2004, and and because of my experience, the newspaper they said, you know what, they asked me to do a lot of reporting, supporting other correspondents along the border. So I traveled to pretty much the whole U.S.-Mexico border to do reporting on crime, violence, and those things. But in 2004, 2005, and then 2006 was the key. Uh, that's when I started to see the infiltration of organized crime within the force.
Oh, okay.
Like more. I mean, it was already infiltrated, but this a new group trying to infiltrate, and they did it. And this is part of the beginning of the war on drugs in Mexico.
And is this at like a municipal level, the state police level, or is it all of it?
All of them.
All of it.
All of them. Yeah. So in 2001, when El Chapo Guzman escaped prison, a lot of things happened in 2001. First, there was a new federal government, so there's new policies, and people with very bad reputations started to get into power within the force, the federal force. Then Joaquin Guzman escaped, and then 9/11 happened. The border was shut down, and that created a surplus of drugs. So they started to distribute the drugs inside the country.
Okay.
But what I found was that Joaquin Guzman masterminded a plan, which basically was divide and conquer. How? He infiltrated the municipal force first in key cities along the border, while he was also infiltrating the drugs trade, the local drugs trade, with either or cheaper drugs or more revenue. So that fractured the force, the good guys and the bad guys fractured. So that created that's when the corrupt police officers started to kill each other.
Yeah.
And this is part of the beginning of the war on drugs in Mexico. And I reported and I saw all of them in Nuevo Laredo, Juarez, Tijuana, Sonora. I travel everywhere.
As you're seeing some of this stuff happen, do you feel, is it more of a moral obligation to report on it? Like what, if you're seeing a whole bunch of infiltration, at any point do you think this is, if I'm saying something, this will just end up with me or my family killed? So I'm just wondering what kind of drives you to keep going forward and continue to do the reporting job?
I will be very pretentious if I give you like a fantastic answer telling you that I'm a super guy. You know what? Honestly, you don't think about it. You just keep going.
Yeah.
You just keep going. I mean, every day you wake up in the morning and check whatever is happening. I mean, at some point in Ciudad Juarez, I was reporting 15 assassinations per day.
15 assassinations per day.
Per day, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Shootings, executions, decapitations, and you name it. So at some point, you just have to, I don't know, block somehow, and you just keep going. And of course, as the war on drugs exacerbated, of course, journalists started to. The way I see it is, the criminals found that information is also a weapon.
Yeah.
So they have to control or eliminate those in charge of the information.
I guess that kind of would fall along those lines of, so maybe you're not thinking about it, but now you start to see friends and others getting assassinated and things are happening to them. So I just wonder, at what point do you kind of go, this isn't for me anymore?
But, well, I never said that this isn't for me. No. What happened is, at some point, I learned that a source told me there's a list of 10 to 15 journalists that they will be assassinated soon, and your name is on that list.
Jeez.
And then I learned also from another source inside the federal police who says, because you have been kind of a pain in the ass for the militaries.
Okay.
Because I started to report abuses, human rights abuses. And he said, you know what, be very careful because, and again, my knowledge of the force, my knowledge of the system, I knew, they can easily plant something in my car and they're going to grab me and they're going to send me to the military camp and that's it. Or they're going to throw me into the the prison in the municipal prison in Ciudad Juarez, it's a nightmare. It's a prison built for 800 inmates. Usually has 3,000 inmates.
Wow.
But the thing is, the prison, it's 3 prisons within one prison because they have to build walls because there's 3 gangs inside the prison and they fight each other, they kill each other.
Okay.
So they have to build. So imagine if they throw a journalist inside those kind of, especially a journalist who has been reporting on those gangs. Actually, I other experience that I had in the police, in the force, I was part of teams getting into to secure the jail when the riot happened.
You know, that makes me think of an experience we had here where some of our remand guards at, I don't even remember the year. I guess it'd be 2011, maybe 2012. And they had a strike, and I was with the RCMP. And at that time, the RCMP had to go into the remand center and do the coverage in there. Now, it's not nearly as dangerous as what you're describing in Mexico. It's more just when you got into there, the thought about who you were with in the pods. So I was assigned to cover some of those shifts. And when I went into the remand, they take your gun, they take all your weapons. You can't have anything in there.
Yep.
And they had developed this open concept at the time. So you're not sitting in a box behind, brick and glass. You're just sitting at a desk out in the open in the pod with all the guys.
Yeah.
And the pod that I ended up working in was probably half of it came from the area where I worked. So I knew half the people in there. I'd arrested them. I'd been a part of search warrants on their addresses. And now I'm just sitting in this room with them. There's like, whatever there was, 30, 40 of them and me. And I just thought, I was like, this is a weird experience. Also, doesn't feel very safe. I don't know if anyone even recognized me at that point. But I just thought, I was like, this doesn't seem like the safest idea. So yeah, I couldn't imagine being a journalist down there and getting thrown into a prison. I also think it's very interesting that, your point of view on it is you're not so much worried about cartels. So you're or being killed. You're more talking about you're actually going to get sent to prison or, something along those lines is going to happen to you.
Oh, no. No. I was worried about being killed. But again, when the both threats came almost at the same time.
Oh,
but I
okay,
have to be worried about, I have to be worried about being killed, but also I have to be worried about being put into jail. Because, I mean, in a very practical way of thinking, if I'm killed, that's it, right? They come, they shoot me 50, 100, 150 rounds, and that's it. But being arrested and thrown into a jail with 3,000 gangsters, it's a completely different experience, right?
Yeah.
Now, going to your point of or your experience going to jail and to be there, probably this, but there's, if you, and this is something that I learned with the police, if you do your job, criminals respect you.
Yes. Yeah.
If you are if you do your job straightforward, you don't try to abuse or to steal or to do anything wrong, they respect you. They said, you know what? It was like we said, well, the translation from this in Spanish would be, it was a straight shoot.
Yeah.
Between you and I, okay, you got me. Okay, you respect me, respect my family, respect my properties. You put me in jail. That's okay. I'm aware that I will be in jail eventually. No, it's okay.
They know the role. They know the game, right? They know the roles that people play. And as long as you're playing, it's funny. Even though they're breaking the law, and they're still expecting people to play by the rules, except for them.
Yeah. No.
But
no.
It's true.
It happened many times.
Yeah.
I saw that. For instance, I remember an experience that there was the municipal police seized a house with drugs, but the house was full of expensive clothes. like, well, we in northern Mexico, we dress like pretty much like in Alberta with cowboy. The Western culture is very popular there.
Okay.
So you can imagine this drug lord. He had like super expensive hats, beaver made hats and boots, like and whatever. So before we came in, the municipal police came in, seized the drugs, but they stole things.
Mm.
Okay, pa pa pa. Later, after the press conference where the guy was, presented with all the things and yada yada, the guy said, "Hey, journalist, wait a minute, turn your cameras off. I want to say something, but to you. But please keep your cameras off." And they were, okay, yeah, sure. Can you promise that? Yeah, sure. Cameras off, microphones down. What happened? And he said, "I just want to let you know, and I want to let the police officers know. I know who came into my house first, and I know who stole my things. And that's not the way things have to be done. So be careful, because one day I'll be out."
Mm.
Okay. And I think he fulfilled his promise, because months later, at least 3 or 4 officers that's municipal force were killed, like executed in.
It makes me think of like when we do some of our informant handling and just in talking to the people that are involved in putting hits out on people, you get to talking about things just like you're saying here, where you go, hey, maybe we heard this other group or words getting around. They don't like you guys, but nobody's looking to take a shot at you. Nobody's looking to do, um, you know, do you any real harm, because they get it. They get the game. They know like it's your job to come in and kick them out. It's your job to
Mhm,
arrest them and put them in jail. Uh, but we would get that same thing up here, where it's like, as long as you're playing by the law and you're doing what you're
mhm,
supposed to do, and you can talk to people and kind of garner that respect, then you're generally fine.
mhm.
Now, there are true psychos out there who are just looking to hurt people and
Oh,
kill
yeah, yeah,
people.
yeah.
But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
kind of the people that were the shot callers, the ones out there uh, doing a lot of this stuff, for the most part, that was kind of the conversations we would have with them, because you're always kind of probing for information. I mean, when I was in the gang unit, a lot of the places we would walk into, and I've said this numerous times, like we're outmanned, we're outgunned. There's 6 of us walk into a bar and there's 20, 30 people that we're looking to deal with.
Mhm.
I mean, those aren't great odds. And guns and other weapons make it into bars. No surprise for anybody who hasn't been to some places. But
Mm.
yeah, so you have to go in, and your best weapon and the one that could get you into the most trouble or out of it is your mouth, right?
Yep,
It's how you talk to people. So uh,
yep, and who you are,
yeah, yeah,
because they know everything. They know everybody. They know who you are. Even they have a lot of information about you. So they know who you are. They know what you're doing.
mhm,
They know what kind of cop you are. They know what kind of journalist you are. And at least in my perspective, I think being kind of try to play by the rules and not engaging in nasty things allow me to be here with you talking today.
yeah. So when you get this word that you're on a list, what kind of goes through your mind at that point? And are you just looking to get out of Mexico at that point?
No, 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 no. I it took me a month to verify the information, because I want to make sure that if this is happening and what I mean, how's the things working. Um, and then I guess what pushed my decision, yeah, was because my wife was also threatened as outside of the house,
Mm,
and that's when I said, no, this is not about me anymore. It's also my family. For instance, I in those years, or in that time, I was followed, harassed. People pointed guns at me on the street as an intimidation, or they didn't get the go shot, the go call to kill me. Uh, but those things happened, and I was like, okay, this is my work, this is my job. okay, this is what I signed for. However, when these things happen into or spread into your family, that's when you have to choose. And for me, that was when I said, you know what, it's funny. I've told this story before. Um, One night we was at the table having dinner, and of course, as a journalist, I have to keep news every keep monitoring the news. And the TV's on, the news is there, and then my son, my middle one son, and those years were like 7 years old. He says, "Hey, look, my dad is on TV next to the dead guy." And then this report on TV, and it shows the body, and I'm behind, taking photos and everything. So, and I have multiple experiences. Again, I travel all over the border, and I have like really bad experiences. Um, but yeah, but that's when my wife was threatened. That's when we said, you know what, no,
Okay.
this is beyond that.
So what? How'd you end up in Canada, of all places? I guess what?
Good question.
Yeah.
No, you know what? Probably the most. If I live at the border, probably the most common thing will be, well, just cross the border and ask for asylum in the States, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the information that I had is the people interested in killing me was organized, transnational organized crime. So they have a big influence in the States too.
Okay.
So that's when we said, well, where? Oh, Canada doesn't ask for visa. So we have no idea about Canada at all.
Okay.
I was expecting to land and see polar bears, Mounties with the hat, the
Like for the Mounties?
yeah,
Stetson.
and
Yeah.
exactly, like like this the gala uniform and polar bears and
Yeah.
only white people, and then we landed in Vancouver.
Like, did the plane land in Hong Kong? Yeah.
Yeah, I said, like, what? Where are we? Yeah, actually, that was kind of something that my son said when we get into the big area where you have to check your passports and everything. And my son was looking at my middle one son, looking, hey, Dad, there's a lot of Japanese here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're Japanese, but they look Asian to me. So where are we? I don't know. Let's keep forward. Okay. Yeah, no, it was a shocking experience. The other shocking experience was language. I mean, I live at the border and I thought I kind of speak English, but
you got to pick up all the slang and other words that we use that Americans don't use. And
exactly. And the pronunciation of things like Toronto instead of Toronto.
yeah.
No, and writing. I mean, because at the border, you have Spanglish, right? You go to the store and say, hey, hi, I'm looking for the zapatos amarillos on the, oh, sí, come on. Let me show you, don't stand. So you mix, and then you have words in Spanglish like truck instead of truck, we said troca.
Yeah.
Things like that, right? And basically, and more my experience was more on reading things in English, reports and everything, more than like a long interviews with people. It was more like.
So that makes me wonder, like, how have you continued the journalism side of things from being so far north? Does that affect you not being there physically?
Yeah, when the first I lived 3 years in Delta, it's the suburbs of Vancouver, and for me was terribly painful because I worked as a janitor in those years, and every night I have to we have to clean a public library, a building. Or it's a rec center, but it has a public library, small public library inside. So every night I have to go out, I have to walk inside that public library and with my vacuum, walking and passing the newspaper aisle.
Oh.
And those were the years of Mexico was in every front cover all over the world. And a lot of times Ciudad Juarez was there. And a lot of times photos, and I recognize people, I recognize names. and that was extremely hard for me. Also, I have to say, uh, after I left, a fellow journalist was killed. Apparently, he was on that list too. Another journalist fled. No, well, not another. A lot of them fled. Some went to Europe, others went to the States, others moved into southern Mexico. And for me, I, I I I got emails from journalists from Mexico calling me traitor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Even with a
why?
credible threat on your life.
Yeah, they said you're a traitor. You fled. You should be here. And now, after years, you said, it's okay. But at the time, when you were struggling with picking up uh, food, furniture from the garbage to kind of for your home, lining up in food banks, or find trying to survive without a proper winter jacket, and then you got on top of that, you have these emails.
Hmm.
Uh, it was very hard. Also, one day I got uh, an interesting email from a guy who worked for the municipal police in Juarez in intelligence. And out of the blue, he emailed me and says, "Hey, I know you're in Vancouver. Let's meet."
Oh, and you're like, how do you know that?
Exactly, because at the time nobody knew that I was in Vancouver.
Wow.
Yeah, and he gave me like, "Oh yeah, let's meet in this coffee place, which is in this corner and this corner." So, like, very precise uh, information about there. And then, I guess, fortunately for me, he met an immigration consultant who was also helping me. But this person, I don't know. I think this person didn't know that he was helping me. But he went there and, oh yeah, because I'm here. I came from Juarez. I wanted to see how can I stay in Canada, blah blah blah. And then he gave a lot of information to her. And as soon as the guy left, she called me. You know what? This person came. Do you know him? Yes, I know him. Okay, well, he came. What should I do? Oh, so say nothing and
Yeah.
let's see what happens. And then the guy disappeared.
And is that like the last incident you've had? Any kind of run-ins or anything? Like, has anyone ever told you you're off the list now, or is it just always kind of has to stay in the back of your mind?
No, well, I like to think that I, I probably, and as cruel as this I mean, may seem, I think some of the people who want me to dead are dead already
Yeah.
because it was a carnage. Uh, but you never know. Among criminals, you know better. Revenge is a dessert that it's enjoyed when it's cold.
Well, and
Now,
yeah.
no, yeah. Now the other thing is here in Canada. After we wrote the Wolfpack, one of the main characters is escaped the prison. Robbie Al Khalil. He now is on the run.
Hmm.
He's I don't know where. But it's funny because when he escaped, we were talking. Oh, the guy. Are you worried about this? Do you think that? I mean, I'm too old to be running.
Yeah. Well, I imagine he's got some other things he's thinking about besides
Exactly. Just
you.
I'm gonna kill the guys who wrote who wrote a book about me.
Have you ever had anybody that you've written about reach out to you personally? Any of those on the criminal side?
Yes and no. I mean, you hear things, but mm,
Okay, not
yeah, nothing
directly
like
though. It's
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
mm,
You hear things that this guy read your article, or in Juarez, sometimes corrupt police officers or lawyers came to me and says, um, certain people read your story.
well,
Okay.
and anyone I've talked to that is kind of mid-level or a higher level organized crime gangster, they're somewhat smart people, and even though they do crime, I mean, some of them are really bright, and they pay attention to the news.
Oh yeah,
They
yeah, yeah.
read what's out there about them. Like they want to know what people are saying about them, and
Yeah, of
I
course.
would say maybe more so with cartels. there is an element of bragging rights. There's an element of showmanship and all that stuff. So
Yep.
yeah, they want certain things out there about them. So they're definitely going to pay attention.
Oh, of course, of course.
So just kind of on the situation right now in Mexico,
Uh-huh.
do you have a lot of contacts that you still are in touch with? A lot of colleagues or former colleagues that let you know what's going on the ground? And I do know you were saying before you have a podcast.
Yeah.
So you still do talk about some of this stuff through there?
Yeah. Yeah, I have. Well, yes, I keep contact with some of my colleagues and for journalists. Unfortunately, some of them died after I left. Uh, mm, One of them took his own life because of PTSD.
Mm.
Other one died. It was like a heart attack, but he was stressed too. So yeah, the situation is really bad, to be honest. And yeah, yeah, and I keep in touch. I still write about it. I have a column in a small regional newspaper, and I write about sports because I also work as a sports writer.
Okay.
Had the opportunity to, yeah. I went to a Super Bowl, and I went to MLB games, and well, I
Oh,
have
wow.
experience. Yeah, working as a sports writer. Um, Usually, I write about sports, but also I have freedom to write about whatever I want. And for instance, recently I wrote a piece on Ryan Wedding
Yes.
from the perspective of Mexico. Not Wedding. Andrew Clark, the guy who was his kind of right hand. He was arrested in Mexico and deported to the States as part of this group of 29 criminals deported by or extradited to the States by the Mexican government as part of the negotiation of the tariff negotiation with the States.
Okay.
And I wrote like a long piece on that, on Wedding and the business model, how it's changing, yada yada. Um, and also I have a podcast. It's called Dos Amigos, Two Friends. It's basically it's a almost like a therapy session with a good friend of mine, uh, and we talk about whatever we want. We don't in that podcast though. I'm kind of careful because my friend is still there.
Okay. Is he a journalist as well?
He it's kind of part time because now he moved into another things, but he's still there. So I don't want to put him at risk. Uh, for instance, that's a constant choice that you have to make when reporting on certain things in certain places. For instance, when I went to Tijuana or Nuevo Laredo, different borders to support or to reinforce reporting with my colleagues there. Again, my previous experience, the way that I interact with people and some sources that I had, sometimes I had information that my colleagues, my local colleagues, didn't have. So very frequently, I have to sit in my computer while I was there in my hotel and be very careful the things that I write about. Because for me, it was easy, right? I just publish and go back to my house and that's it. But the other person stays.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's something that I criticize a lot for foreign journalists going into places like Mexico.
Mm.
They hire a fixer, and they go and they publish, but criminals know who these journalists reported with, and they know that it's a local. And as you said, information, and we talked about at the beginning, in the war on drugs, information is essential.
Mhm.
And plus this bragging or you know uh, lifestyle, this flamboyant lifestyle that now a lot of gangsters have. you never know. I was in Juarez, and a guy working for the cartel, or one of the, well, I don't like to use the word cartels, uh, criminal organizations. But anyways, so one of the guys one day told me, you know what? My boss watches the news every single night. The thing is that sometimes he's really intoxicated.
Mm.
And the guy says, because as you said, some of them are very, very, very smart. And he says, my fear is that one day he's going to read something, listening to something, or watching something that he's going to say, you know what? Go and kill this guy because I don't like what he wrote or what he said.
Yeah, it's just kind of on a whim. It's just like, you know what? I don't like this guy today. Just kill him.
And the other guy has to do it, right?
Yeah.
They don't. They
don't
not
get to say no.
Oh, exactly, and especially if your boss is high, right? He's intoxicated, so you're not going to say, "Oh, boss, please." No. This is, yeah, sure. How do you want? You want to pieces? You want in pieces? You want to hang? Or I mean, that's the way it is.
So, from your perspective, though, do you think journalism in Mexico? It obviously, like, it sounds like it not a very safe job. And do you think, is it a dying art down there? Are more people going into it? Less people? Like, what's kind of the current climate for doing any sort of journalism down there? Because how many cartels are there now? There's over 100. There's like 120, 130 cartels, maybe more.
There's not cartels, are criminal organizations.
Okay.
There's kind of yeah, it's well, in a simpler way, the estimation is 70% of Mexican territory is somehow influenced, controlled, or subject to an organized crime group. That gives you an idea.
Yeah, that is just crazy to think of. But yeah, I just the reach is insane. How do people report on that without any kind of fear of just getting shot just because?
Yeah, the thing is, there's places, for instance, Juarez, Nuevo Laredo, Reynosa, Tijuana, a little bit, Culiacan now with all these things happening. It's really hard because of two things. One is the nature of the job. I mean, it's hard, but also it's because of the conditions of the work in terms of wages, social security, job security. Unfortunately, as it's happening in Canada, journalism is in a very complex and I will say dire situation in terms of finances. So now there's, for instance, now there's a bunch of independent journalists, and some of them are more YouTubers, quote unquote influencers. They see themselves as citizen journalists, which I don't think exists, because if you want to be a journalist, you have to study, you have to be ready for that, and this, I mean, under those conditions, there's people trying to do something, right? But unfortunately, there's a lot of corruption too, because again, you have your portal, you have your channel, and you are struggling to get some money from here and there, and out of the blue, the government comes and says, "We're going to give you advertising, but you have to be quiet, or you have to report on this, on this, on this, and not on this, on this, on this." But also, there's criminals coming to you and saying, "You know what? We are going to pay you if you expose this criminal."
Yeah. So one group can leverage it against another group.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was, I had a lot of conversations in Juarez with people who says, this group is mad at you because you are exposing them, because you are giving names of when the leaders are arrested. You are giving a lot of context. corrupt police officers also said, you know what, you shouldn't be writing about this or that. And from both sides, I mean, I said, well, I don't care about if it's Sinaloa or Juarez or whoever. I'm going to write about these people.
What do you think of the journalists, or if we call them journalists, but the ones who go in and do these exposés, like the 3 or 5 part series, and they kind of do a ride along with these criminal groups? Because when you're talking about, there's like an element of sensationalizing, and then there's an element of only telling. I guess there's parts where you're only telling one side of the story. And I always think when I watch these, and I can't watch a ton of them just because I know what truly goes on in some of these groups. But when you get like the reporters or the journalists and they go out and they do these series, you're like, the criminal group, they're not showing you all the stuff that they're doing, and they're outside of the Hells Angels pretending like, oh, we do a teddy bear run, so we're all good
Oh, yeah.
guys. Like,
Yeah.
that's obviously bullshit. But
Yeah.
when they go out and they do these things and it's like for TV, it's not the truth. You're not getting the real uh picture of what they're involved with and the true
Yeah.
harm that they bring to communities and at large, like right across the country. When you're talking about some of these bigger groups, the transnational ones, I mean, it's the death and destruction that follows them. They're going to paint themselves in a slightly better light. And like you said, they could even leverage that against another group. It
Mhm.
sensationalizes it for some. So, what's your thought on some of those things that might be out there for TV or the news?
Well, something that I've been mm, kind of collecting information and researching, if you want to say so, is precisely that the how particularly how the internet transformed the the approach of organized crime to kind of public relations, how they use information for their own benefit. And you can tell from allowing journalists from the CBC to come to Mexico and ride along for a methamphetamine lab, or to uh, posting reels on uh, X showing the decapitation of enemies.
Hmm.
So this is a strategy now. They have these. They know that information matters.
So some of these people become the useful idiot when
Exactly.
they go
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. Of course. And just to yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, they some of them take advantage of that, but also I think it's at least something a part of reality, and I think that at least that tiny segment of reality is good to be seen.
Okay.
I guess the key question here is how journalists approach to that reality, right? If you want to do it like almost like a TV series type, or if you want to say, okay, we went to this place and we saw this and we saw that, not taking sides, because that's the other thing. Sometimes you have to negotiate with these people. They say, okay, I'm going to allow you to do this or to see this, but I know who you are, because they have resources, a lot of resources and a lot of technology. So if you wanna, stay safe, we're gonna you don't attack us.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's one thing. Uh, and I guess the my overarching point is well, we have some segments of reality. I guess what we need is perhaps more um, education, probably, in the sense of people can rationalize what they see and think, oh, these guys are not like superstars or flamboyant lifestyles that I wish to have. No, no, no. These are criminals, and if you, well, but if people will have a chance to see how they really live,
Yes.
you said, I don't want to be part of this
Yeah,
at all.
you only see the highlights.
Exactly.
It's the Instagram models, like, they're just showing
Oh,
you
yeah.
they show you the 10-second highlight, but they don't show you all the drama and all the other stuff going on behind the scenes, like the real
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
outside of TV series or whatever they might have.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we're just coming up to the end of our time. Just last thing, I want to make sure you get a second here to say where people can find you. I mentioned the books, and I'll put the links up for
Oh,
those
thank you very much.
in the episode description. But what else? What else have you got going on? You got the podcast, so that's Dos Amigos. Do you
Yes, I
do any
have.
of those in English?
No, because my friend doesn't speak English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to use a translator app. But
Yeah, probably. Yeah, well, right now I'm writing my memoirs, which I think I gave you a good a good chunk of those
yeah,
memoirs in this interview. Um, but yeah, I'm working on that and looking for opportunities. If now with all this hype of the tariffs and the new approach that the Canadian government has to embrace because of trade with the U.S., well, I'm more than happy to do consulting work with any force interested. I have to say though, I approach the federal and provincial police and the municipal police here in Toronto, and no, I had no luck.
Mm.
So yeah, so if there's anyone interested in give my thoughts and my assessment or my impressions of things, more than happy to do it. I'm
Okay.
Canadian citizen, so I have my everything in order to be uh yeah be hired.
All right.
Say.
And
Yep.
yeah, you have some social media people can follow.
Yes, I have social media. I mean X. It's like my last name is Najera,
Mm.
then Najera 13.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my and I'm on LinkedIn too. And yeah, I'm on that. I don't have Facebook. I have a, a frustration moment, and I decided to delete my Facebook account because it was very frustrating to see that everybody was thriving and I was here in Canada stuck sweeping floors.
Well, I'll get the links up for all of those, and hopefully we can connect you with some people. I know I was putting you in touch there with Margarito J. Flores,
Yes.
the prior
Oh
guest
yeah,
on the
amazing guy.
podcast, and
Yes,
we'll see what other
great podcast by the way.
opportunities can come your way. So I want to say thank you very much for being on here today. You're a very strong guy for going through all of that stuff and moving, 2 countries away. It's definitely that is not an easy thing to take on, but we're glad to have you here today, and provided the stories that you've written, and I look forward to seeing the memoir. I
Yeah,
I'll definitely be reading that. So thank you very much, Louise, and we
thank you.
will chat again.
Sure, thank you for having me.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening in and following along with the discussions. Be sure to click the follow or subscribe button on your respective listening platform. Also, check out the Quiet Professional on X and Instagram under TQP780. And most importantly, please share where you can. Everyone has a part to play in getting these education and information pieces out there, so pass it along. Thanks again.